been invited. Invited to steal the greatest treasure of all.
This was one of the most exciting moments of my life. Now I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but I did not get this excited for an announcement very often. Joker in Smash, or more like Persona in Smash, was a big moment. In a lot of ways it was for both Persona fans and for Nintendo. It was a signal that Nintendo was much more interested in third-party characters who may not have had a ton of history with them. And despite how niche Persona is, or was at the time, this moment got a lot of people hyped. But that was 2018. We're now approaching a new generation for Nintendo. And with that means the likely new entry in their giant crossover fighting game franchise, Super Smash Bros. So, does Joker stay in Smash? Or does Persona even stay in Smash?
No. There's no way he could have any evidence.
Now, before we get into this is all purely speculative. I can't believe I have to say this, but I know nothing about the next Smash Bros. Game. All of what I'm about to say is based on my own thoughts and opinions and some other facts here and there. Do not take this as anything other than speculation. Please. It's not anything other than speculation. And this is probably the first thing we gotta address before we begin speculating more on Persona. There are a multitude of routes Smash could take, from a port to a new game to nothing. It's worth discussing this bit before we dive into Persona itself. A port means Joker stays for sure. I mean, he's in Ultimate, so chances are if they did a port, they would bundle all the DLC together with the base game. Now, this is not as simple as some people make it out to be. I know there's been a big discussion on the idea that a port would be better because all they have to do is port the game, they don't have to get the licensing rights again. As far as I know, that's not true. When you do a port, a remaster of any sort of a game, because you know they would want to at least up the graphics if they can, and up, whatever they can for visuals and performance. What I'm trying to say here is that they still have to negotiate licensing rights and all that jazz. I highly doubt Nintendo would have been able to sneak in a clause saying, for all future releases of Ultimate, these characters are staying in the game. I just don't think that's feasible. Either way, this is a possibility, a port, but I don't think this is the one that's going to happen. A brand new game means Persona could get cut. With any Smash entry besides Ultimate, there were cuts to the roster, and third parties are some of the most likely on the chopping block. Licensing is expensive, especially from companies like Square Enix and Disney. While it's easy to imagine the kind of reaction that would come if Nintendo managed to keep the whole cast, I don't know how feasible it is. It would definitely not surprise a lot of people if there were some big cuts to the roster. Persona has a chance to be axed, at least in the base game, and it wouldn't totally surprise me if it does get axed. And the other possibility is just nothing. I kind of doubt this, but it's possible Nintendo is done with Smash in that regard. Ultimate is nearly impossible to top. I mean, from a casual perspective, it's very difficult. Their biggest card is now their biggest dagger in their back for a new Smash Brothers. Without bringing back the whole roster again, Ultimate's kinda gonna stay the way it is. It's gonna be the Ultimate Smash Brothers experience. It's a video game's the game.
I can't. If I don't have money, then
And this is also an important topic. Where do the parent companies of Persona, SEGA and ATLUS, stand on crossovers? And I think it's pretty obvious where they stand. They really like money. Do you remember when Yoko Taro said he would do anything for money and that he was a slave to capitalism? Yeah, that's ATLUS and SEGA with Persona crossovers and collaborations. These guys will just pop up in random games and random things. It's kind of funny at this point, to be honest. Every time I get a good chuckle out of new Persona mouthwash and new Persona spaghetti sauce or whatever the hell it was last time. I highly doubt they'd be against allowing Persona back into the biggest crossover in gaming, And with how well Joker was represented and how much proper care the series got, it'll likely not take much negotiation to get the ball rolling on this. In short, they aren't much of a wall or even a hurdle to cross, as far as I could see it.
Is there something you want?
Huh? What do I want?
Right. Request anything you want.
Okay. A gold bar.
The last and potentially most important thing to consider is, would Nintendo be interested in this? Given how much interest the original reveal generated, I think Nintendo was probably more than okay with bringing Persona back into Smash. Persona 5 is an incredibly well-known game that tons of people haven't even played. Lots of people know the music, and there's a huge influence that the UI design has had on the gaming industry in the past few years. And you have to remember that the original DLC list for this game, of characters to pick, was given to Sakurai by Nintendo. Sakurai did not choose the original list, he chose characters off of the list that Nintendo provided, which means Joker was on that list. That means Nintendo ultimately was interested first.
Here they come, Zenkichi! Get ready!
Ready how?
I think it does, honestly. There aren't really any roadblocks as far as we know. Sega seems to be pretty open to having their characters in the base game even, seeing how Sonic was in the base roster for 3 entries, or 4 technically, but, you know. If I call it Smash 6, I think it would be 6 now. I don't know how people feel about that, but I think it's funny. Anyways, now on whether Joker stays or gets replaced, that's a bit different. We have seen nothing for Persona 6, and assuming we're still a decent pace away from a new Smash Bros. Game, and it is not being shown in the upcoming Switch 2 Direct, it's a possibility we get whoever the Persona 6 protagonist is, rather than Joker. That also being said, Joker could easily return, especially if Nintendo somehow manages to retain the entire 84 character roster in some form when the game returns. But if that's the case, I also don't think Persona's getting another character. You know, it's a little different when you have the likes of Final Fantasy VII. You could say, well, Final Fantasy got another character, yes, but the influence that Cloud and Sephiroth have as characters is leagues wider than Persona. Just being honest here. Like, Final Fantasy is the JRPG. But I think it is possible that we get another character from an ATLUS game. Whether that's Will from Metaphor, Nahobino from SMT, which I think might be a little dated by the time that comes around, but hey, you never know. Or even Atlus's game-spanning mascot, Jack Frost. The point is that I don't think this is really off the table, and it's at least somewhat likely that Persona does return to Smash in the future. Not a guarantee, but it's not close to an impossibility. We will know nothing until we see what the next Smash game is, and if a certain someone is still involved in any form.
I wonder if I'll ever get to take a break.
Now, I know some people might be tired of Smash speculation, but whatever. And do you think Joker will return in the future? Or that there'll even be a new Smash Brothers? You can let me know down in the comments below. Always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Persona, ATLUS, and JRPG related. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for asking.
No.
Oh my. I need a break.